the nets, we pulled up a net that was like half a kilometer long, yeah? And that's nothing unusual, like 200, 300 meter net, that's nothing unusual to find.
Off Gassing, a scuba podcast with host Nick Hogel. Arkadiusz Srebnik dreamt of taking his first breaths under the water as part of the Polish Navy, but a medical evaluation would push him in a different direction. Years later, he would find himself enrolling in a course with a friend, finally fulfilling his dreams of becoming a diver. These days, you can find him in Malta, working with Zibel Non-Profit Organization, cleaning and removing waste in the waters of the Mediterranean. Studies in diving safety management, ghost net removals, underwater photography, and much more. Please enjoy. How you doing today, man? I appreciate you meeting up. This is for you listeners out there, round two, because we had some audio troubles on the first go around. So how's your day going, man?
Very good, very good. Did some nice dives today, so yeah, it started really nice.
Awesome. And you were saying that the weather is pretty nice over there right now. So, but there was some bad weather last week.
Oh yes, the last week was really, really bad weather. We had rain all the time and all the way to the point where we had, like, they call it water spouts, but for me it was like small tornado on the water. So really interesting for Malta.
Yeah.
The world is dying, man.
Oh man, yeah. So that's not a normal thing. Is that not
Nah,
normal for that?
nah,
Oh really?
completely not normal.
Oh wow. Okay. Did they cease all diving operations when it gets
Well,
that
it
bad?
was far away from the land, so we didn't have a problem with that. But that was really interesting to see when I just like pop up from the dive and try to go up, and like everybody's filming something. You just turn around and there's like three small tornadoes behind you. It's just like pretty interesting.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know how I would feel about that. That'd be kind of scary, man. But yeah, that's crazy to hear, especially if it's not a normal occurrence over there. But welcome back to the podcast. It's awesome to have you back on. And I guess I'll just throw my first question out there. Tell me how and why you started diving. Tell me about that first breath. What led to that moment? Was it love at first breath? Was it this is all right? Was it I hate this? Tell me all about it.
Yeah, that's the long story again. so, so basically, I always wanted to be a diver, and what I was tending for is I wanted to be a diver in the Navy. So at that time in Poland, you had to go to the army. When I was there, it was only 9 months, but still you had to go. If you go before they catch you, you could choose whoever you wanted to be in that for that 9 months. So I actually did apply for a diver, and they had to find me a spot. So it was quite a long time waiting for that. But finally, when they said that they need divers, they sent me for doctor's evaluation, which was 21 doctors in one day. That was quite a lot because they had to do really everything from A to Z, including like psychological assessment and things like that. And it was so funny because they did like our eyes. They checked our eyes, which they put something in our eyes, and we've been completely blind. And then we had to do some tests, right? The tests completely blind, like a nightmare. But yeah, I did pass 20 out of 21. And the last one was checking my sinuses. And a big old man with a huge mustache just like looked into my nose. I don't know, like people can't see it because there's no video, but like my nose was broken a few times. So the man just had a look inside my nose and said that I would never ever be able to equalize. So I got a stamp of dismissed and went to the army as a chef. And that actually stopped me for quite a long, I think like 10 years or something like that, because at that time I didn't know anything about diving, so I didn't even check after that evaluation. And then after 10 years, my friend was doing his open water course because he wanted to go to fire department. So that was like some additional points for it. So he said like, okay, maybe you will go with me. I said like, okay, I cannot dive. Oh, come to the instructor and like talk to him. Yeah. And of course, the only thing that my instructor said at that time, it was like, yeah, cut your nose and try to blow. Do you feel it in both ears? Yeah, okay. So you can dive. And the funniest thing, I never ever did anything with my sinuses and never had a problem with equalization. So yeah, thank you very much, lovely man with a mustache for 10 years of my life.
So, real quick, is it still a mandatory thing for people?
No,
They have to serve some time in the military, but it was at the time that you were gone.
I think like 3 years or 4 years after me, they took it down, and now there is a situation that you can go to something like an army, not an army, but you can go and like get the training and all that kind of stuff, and they pay you for it. So
Oh, okay, okay, cool.
you go in for the training part, and then you go once every 3 months or something like that.
Oh, okay, okay. And when you took your open water course, I'm assuming that was in Poland.
Oh yes, that was in lovely Polish lakes.
Can you tell me a little bit about the where you went diving and how the class went? Was it like did you take to the skills easy? Was it like a pretty good class? How did you like it?
Well, that was actually like completely different than we do right now. Because first of all, yeah, I did my first course with Paddy, and that was like the Paddy book was so huge at that time. That was just before they changed the materials in Poland. I think it had like 140 or 150 pages. So it was it was a nightmare to go through it, which you could skip 10 pages and it still was on the same topic. And we did all the theory in the classroom in the diving center. We keep it like really slow. So we had a meeting. Well, the theory was like every day, but then we were meeting once a week and stuff like that for the pools. And when we finished the pool sessions, then we went for a lake and finished in the lake. And I was starting at the end of the year, so we actually had to wait till next year, till May, until the water will get acceptable for a fresh diver in a wetsuit to not freeze. So yeah, it was fun.
Does your buddy that you took the class with, does he still dive?
No, actually, completely not. Because for me, it was like I was changing my life at the time, and I said, okay. I went back to the diving center when I finished my first course, and I said, like, okay, I can like help in the diving center for like just small money, just so I can pay my bills and stuff like that. And I stayed in the diving center, so like straight away I started to work, and I think 2 or 3 years after I did my instructor course, I progressed through that years. And my buddy, he did few dives. He did one cleanup with us, and then like never dived again.
Did he ever make it to the fire department?
Yes, yes, yes. So like more, I think more because of the job than the family and things like that. It's pretty hard to accommodate when it's not the first thing that you think about.
Yeah. Oh no, no, for sure, for sure. So no, that's awesome. So after your open water, you just were instantly hooked. You started taking a bunch of classes. Like, how was the progression? Was it? You said in like within 2-3 years, you became an instructor.
Exactly, exactly. So I was like, helping in the diving center with everything, with the paperwork, with, joining the courses, like getting the equipment and stuff like that at the beginning, and get to know how does it work, how are the operation going, and all that kind of stuff in the diving center. And of course, when I was doing my courses higher and higher, I was doing more in the diving center. So when I was a dive master, I was doing all the dive master job and things like that, and helping on finishing other courses. So yeah, it was actually really nice, and I learned a lot because the diving center that I was working in Poland, that was like second oldest in Poland
Uh huh.
and one of the biggest ones. So we did everything because we did not only courses, not only like trips. We had a bunch of trips abroad in Poland, and we were fixing regulators. We were like building and fixing compressors. So I had like the option to see everything and get to know a bit way beyond that you normally learn on the courses.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to have a full service shop like that, to be able to learn both sides of the business, because there's obviously the teaching side, but then there's like the maintenance, equipment, and then even the business side of things, which is always nice. So I just have to ask, so when you were going through the training, progressing, did you get into a dry suit pretty quickly, or was this all done in a wetsuit?
Oh yes, straight away. I don't know how many dives I did in a wetsuit, but like I jumped like really, really fast in a dry suit, and especially I think I remember we had some old dry suits in the diving center that was like leaking and stuff. So I took one of those, like asked the guys on the service how to glue it and how to like make it at least, like make the water go in not such a fast way. So yeah. Then I jumped like really, really fast into dry suit, and to a point that I never ever did wetsuit dive, and until I moved to Malta, because now I'm based in Malta. So the funniest part of moving to Malta was that I actually had to buy a wetsuit at some point because I never had a wetsuit. I had dry suits, a lot of them, but I never had a wetsuit.
Oh, that's funny, man. That's funny. Yeah, for me, it's like it really enjoy the warm water. So anything, I think I could do a 5 mil. There's sometimes when I wish I had a 5 mil, but if it's more than a 3 mil, like I'm just like, give me a dry suit. I don't want to mess with being cold and wet and all that stuff. But that's why I like the warm water area. But so how did you end up heading towards Malta? How did you end up in Malta?
Oh, okay. So at some point, my diving center wanted to open a diving center in Dominican Republic, and of course, Dominican Republic being as it is, like with all the corruption and everything, when we had everything sorted, like they wanted double the money and things like that. So it never actually happened. But my mindset was already like, oh, I'm leaving Poland. I don't want to be here anymore, and I want to see something else. So I move out pretty quickly. The flights are cheap. It's like 3 hour flight from Poland. So yeah, easy. And in Malta, everybody speaks English. So you're cutting the point where you have to learn additional language and like this kind of problems. So very, very easy stuff.
Okay, okay. Did you find it pretty easy to transition to Malta? Like, get a job in a dive center pretty easy? How was when you first arrived? How was like the diving for you?
Well, that was actually surprisingly easy, and whoever we spoke after, they were like super surprised. With my former girlfriend, what we did is like we came to Malta for a week. We had our resumes and stuff like that ready, and we just went around with a bunch of places, and we found a place. We found a flat. We signed a contract for a flat, and we did all of that. Like I found a job, she found a job. I already had a contract from the diving center, and like in a week we did everything. Then we came back to Poland for 2 weeks. We sold out everything that we had, and prepared to leave, and just left. So it was quite easy for us, and everybody was surprised that it went like so good. Now I'm pretty sure that now if somebody wants to move, it's not that easy, especially when it comes to finding a job and flat, because the prices went up. But in diving, there's a lot of job in Malta. There's so many diving centers in here that it's pretty easy to find a job in here when it comes to diving.
Okay, okay. So no, I know that. I mean, I feel like I always see posts from Malta, so I know there's quite a thriving dive scene there. Can you tell me a little bit about the diving, like temperatures? I know there's obviously a very famous wreck there. We had a chance to talk about it last time. There's a few wrecks there, but yeah, just tell me a little bit about the diving and what you could see the area.
So Malta is a very interesting place for diving, but it's a wreck place. So for somebody who likes fishes and nice and colorful places, that's definitely not the place, because there's not much to see when it comes to this. But when somebody's liking the wrecks, that's a perfect spot because there's so many wrecks in here. You've got wrecks that are for recreational divers, and then you've got a lot of wrecks who are for super technical divers. So we say in like up to 40 meters, there's a lot of wrecks that you can see, and then from 50 to 120, there's not a problem with finding wrecks, especially now when the Heritage Malta unit just opened a new wrecks, and they're still opening another one and another one. So, on any level, you can find dives for you. The water is really good. The visibility is really good. There can be some currents, so you have to be careful. Like for the recreational dives, that's not a huge problem, but when it comes to the deeper dives, that could be a problem. The water temperature in the summer is going max to like 30 degrees, and the lowest that you can get in the winter is 14. So it will be something in between those. Usually, above 20 degrees. That's what you dive in, because that's usually how the season is going.
Okay. And just curious, so to get to Malta, I'm assuming they have an international airport right there.
Exactly. So it's super easy. Like, all the cheap flights that are going inside Europe are flying to Malta. So from every bigger city that you can get a flight to Malta, and you can get it pretty cheap. So it's like super easy for divers to come. Malta is actually very, very popular when it comes to, divers visiting and just come in for dives for a week or just a few days.
Yeah, yeah. No, I definitely will have to like plan to make it there because I've had a few people on the podcast from Malta, and then like I said, you see it pop up all the time, so it's something that every time I see it, I'm like, oh, this looks really nice. And another thing I have to ask is, so since you moved to Malta, did you ever make it back to Poland for any diving?
Oh yes, I go. I need it. I just need to go back to Poland for diving. So usually what I do is I'm going back for Christmas and staying in January for a bit longer. So I'm always taking my equipment, and I'm trying to do as much diving as possible, and as much diving as possible in the winter season, especially when there's holidays and stuff like that. It's, let's say, max 5 dives for a month. So it's still something. And yeah, like, being an instructor in a place like Malta, when you've got a good visibility and you're diving nearly every day, yeah, I feel like at the end of the season, I feel like I'm diving in a swimming pool. There's no challenges, the visibility, the currents, like there's no challenges. So I just need to go to Poland all the time and get back into that zero vis condition with cold water and things like that. So I actually know where is the challenge in diving.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So where are the areas that you're going diving when you go back to Poland?
Well, I'm from the coast. I'm from Gdynia, so it's pretty easy because we've got one of the very interesting places, which is the torpedo launcher, which is like a building that's 300 meters offshore, that you can just swim from the beach to, or take a boat and do a dive. It's pretty shallow, so it's really, really nice. There's a lot of wrecks in Poland in the Baltic Sea, because Baltic Sea is like actually a very special sea. We've got lakes, we've got quarries, we've got the deepest pool in Europe, which is next to Warsaw. So the combination of the dive site, that's something amazing. Yeah. So whichever you choose, there's so much diving.
Same thing with the Baltic. I've heard a lot of amazing things about the Baltic, especially the wrecks in the Baltic Sea. Just curious, do you make it to Baltic Tech? Do you go to that I don't
Oh
want to call it a
yes.
conference, but that show?
It is a conference, and yes, I'm going there. I think I've been from 2009 on all of them. So I, like 2 years ago, I was having a lecture there, and this year for sure I'm going as well. So
Oh, okay, okay. What were you lecturing over there?
2 years ago, I had a lecture about my studies, which is the first studies in the world about diving. So you can do a diving degree, having a bachelor's in diving,
Oh,
which is pretty
really?
interesting. Yes.
Oh,
It's
okay,
called
okay.
Science in Diving Safety Management. which is like really cool stuff. So yeah.
Where do you teach that?
No, I'm a student on that, but I'm finishing, and
Oh,
this is something that's in Malta.
okay. Can you tell me a little bit about that program?
It's a 3-year program. It's a bachelor's program, so like all the academic stuff is in there. It is very interesting because it is made by Dan Europe and the ITS, which is one of the schools in here, and they made this program. So from there is a lot of medical stuff, there is a lot of technical stuff when it comes to diving, diving related, a lot of safety stuff, and whoever is the professor in there, that's like the biggest name from Dan, biggest professors in the world that were teaching us. So like amazing amount of knowledge on that. And the second part is that you have to do the courses. So if you're the entry level now, I think it's rescue. Before it was advanced, and you just progress through all the dive courses up to instructor. Of course, if you've got that courses, that's not a problem. There is also introduction to rebreather. It's free diving. Everything like is included. So everything that's around diving and diving services is included in that, and you learn a lot. Like even like servicing equipment, gas blending, and things like that. Really, really interesting stuff.
Is it a pretty big program? Do they allow a lot of people to enter every year?
Well, I don't know if they have any kind of limitation, but for now, not a lot of people finish it. So I did the
Oh,
second intake. The first intake finished, I think 5 people finished. So those fives are already certified, and they have the bachelors in that. Now this year we are finishing, and I think that will be 5 or 6 as well. I know that the next year is only 3 people. Then the next is I think 5. I don't know how much people will get in the program this year, but like when we were starting my year, we were 16 at the beginning.
oh, wow! And now it's down to, you said, 5.
Yes, so
Is it just because people? Is it like really tough to get through, or is it just kind of?
yes and no. There is, it takes a lot of time. Of course, all the theory is made online, so you can, and it's recorded. So whatever the school is saying is like, okay, you can watch it after if you don't have the time, because of course it's mostly for people who are already in the industry, so everybody has work and things. So they not always can be watching it live, but it still takes a lot of times to
Yeah.
a lot of time to go through that. And it's full because it's every day. At the beginning, it's every day through the week, and I think on the third year it was 3 days in a week, loaded with the lectures. So the time plus, of course, there are some exams. Of course, like depending on whatever we do, and it's like there's some assignments and things like that. There's in local placement and international placement, which means that you have to work in a diving center for a certain amount of hours. So it's quite a lot to do, yeah? And not everybody has the time. Not everybody like they thought it will be like something just nice and quick and easy, but at the end it's like way more than they could accept. So.
Okay, yeah, no, for sure. That does seem like quite a bit, and that is awesome though that they're offering a program like that. And you said it's the only one in the world.
Yes, from what I know,
Wow.
that's the only one in the world that you can do academic on diving.
Oh, okay, cool. So the diving, I'd like to chat about the cleanups that you do. And apologies if I butcher the name. Is it Zibel? Is that how you pronounce it? Zibel,
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 yeah, Zibel.
Zibel. Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about the work that you're doing there?
So yeah, I am a head of diving operations with an NGO that's based here in Malta, one of the biggest in here, and we do in all sorts of like marine protection projects in Malta. Our main projects are like the cleanups, coastal and underwater. So what I'm doing is like I'm taking care about the diving part from A to Z, from preparing and planning executing and supervising divers. And this is something that's like the biggest part of what we do, and we managed to, through 7 years, because the NGO goes through 7 years, we managed to pick up now it's over 160 tons of garbage from the sea, which is just like crazy amount. But like we do way more, because we do projects on ghost nets. We picked up, for now I think it's 168 nets from the water, and we put artificial reefs, which a project on artificial reefs, which are like 3D printed from special clay that we put in the water. For now, we've got samples in the water, and we're just like observing them, how they grow, and which let's say combination will be the best to do that. And like multiple different projects like replanting Posidonia and stuff like that. So whatever is there to help the marine environment, we're always included in there. So really nice project, really nice people. It's just like amazing time with those people who wants to help. People are so involved, and people just like so happy that they are helping, even to a point like, because I'm working as an instructor as well, and at some point I've got my clients coming to Malta, and the cleanup is on the same day that they're supposed to dive, so I'm always taking them for the cleanup, and they always like, oh, we have to come back to Malta, and it's like not for diving, it's just for the cleanup. We have to come back for the cleanup.
Oh, it's all volunteer based.
Oh yeah, it's all volunteer based. So yeah, some of the projects may include like paying for some things, but it's all volunteer based, and we are just sponsored by different companies. Like Avatar gave us like dry suits, so we can do our job through the winter as well. When people, because in the summer I can have 50 people on 50 divers on a cleanup, and then when the winter is coming, the water is only 14 degrees, so cold, and like I've got 10 divers. So we've got few dry suits that Avatar that gave us, so whoever is certified can actually take a dry suit and dive in our dry suit. And we've got 2 boats, we've got a car, we've got a trailer that's with all the equipment that we need, we've got DPVs, so it's all by sponsors.
Ah, okay. No, that's awesome. So I've seen the Avatar suits quite a bit. I've actually seen only one in person at a shop. Well, maybe I've seen more than that. I apologize. I'm sure I've seen more than that.
You have to dive in it.
I was gonna say, how are the suits? Are they pretty nice?
They're very nice. They're light, so they're like perfect for traveling, and it's super funny because now I'm back to my Santi suit for a moment, because my avatar went for service, and I feel like I'm like medieval knights in the water, because avatar is just so thin, you just don't feel it, and it's so comfortable underwater. And as soon as you go in the normal dry suit, yeah, it's not like the dry suit that has 25 years and the old ones that you couldn't move at all, but still it feels like completely different. So the comfort in the avatar is just different level. Yeah, you never feel. That's why I said like you have to dive in it, you will not want anything else.
Yeah. No, for sure. I have heard that they're very travel friendly and light, so that's definitely something I'll have to check out in the future. But I'd like to ask some questions about the ghost nets, because I know we were kind of chatting about it the last time we recorded. But so with the ghost nets, there is an element of I don't want to say danger, but it does. I mean, you're not just going down there hooking up a lift bag and shooting up a ghost net. Like, there's a little bit of skill and time required to remove these ghost nets. Correct? Like, can you kind of take me through the process of removing a ghost net?
There's a lot of ghost nets projects all around the world going on. Every situation will be a bit different, and every place will have a different procedures on how to do that. Because, like, we operating as well with ghost diving and healthy seas and stuff. And ghost diving Poland, my friends, what they do is like they clearing more of the ghost nets from the wrecks, which is way more complicated stuff because you really have to go there, film everything, and plan really, really good on how you're going to do that because you don't want to destroy the wreck or put yourself into the danger. So this is a bit more complicated. For us, it's pretty easy because all of our nets that we find is always on the reef. So on the wrecks, on the recreational wrecks, we will not find until like it's super rare to find a net on the wreck on the recreational because there's too many people and everybody is like trained to have a look at the fishermen to not come too close to the wrecks. So the nets are not really close to the wrecks. There are some situations that the broken net just drifted on the wreck. So what we have is we have the nets on the reef and on the wall, which Malta, from the other hand, doesn't have beautiful, huge corals that are growing for years and years and years. So picking up that kind of stuff is pretty easy. And yes, what we do is like we just jump with the lifting bags and the scoots and things and into the places where we think we could find some kind of wall, some kind of place that we know that the fishermen are going often, and we just go and look for the lost net, and when we find it we just proceed from that. So whatever we find there, we're gonna most of the time just hook up on the lift back and detach as gentle and as clean as possible from the rock or from the ground, and just shoot it up. So for us, the situation is pretty easy. We had few dives that we had to plan way more, but that was something that's unusual. And we do a lot of scoutings because we're doing a project for the ministry where we do scout the same places over and over again every year. And this is the places that we think that they are most common used for from the fishermen. For the fishermen, so we're just checking if there's something new and how much of the old ones we can pull up and do we find and things like that. So when we find something, we either mark it because we've got a GPS marker that you shoot up to the surface and it's marking the position, so we always can come back and just drop directly on the net, or we pull it up straight away. But then guys on the boat has to pull it up. It's not that easy.
Well, I was gonna say, so how many is it? A pretty big crew in water and out of water, like the boat crew, the people in the water. Like how many people are involved when a ghost net is removed?
Well, usually it's two divers, like two technical divers, so me plus one more diver. It's either open circuit or CCR, and we've got two people on the boat, 2 or 3 people max on the boat, because our boat is not big, and 2 people that's more than enough, because one will drive the boat, the second will just catch the lifting back, and then when the boat is just drifting, they will just pull it up. We had few situations where the net was way too big for our boat. I got like a beautiful picture when you don't realize how big is the net underwater and how heavy it can be. But yeah, I've got a beautiful picture of like trolling net that's 3 times the size of our boat, and we still wanted to pick it up. But you learn on your mistakes. Yeah, we had to come back with the crane. We picked up a lot because we cut a lot out of it, and then we just came back with the crane and pick it up with the crane. There is a huge problem with the net because when the net is stretched, it's easier to pick it up. But if the net is like rolled in a ball and is just somewhere on the ground, you don't know what's inside. Of course, the net, the gill nets will always have some kind of lead on the bottom. But when it's packed in one, it's really heavy and it's really hard to pull up on the boat. And sometimes there can be like metal pieces, or like really we had nets that had so many metal pieces inside that you just cannot untangle, and you have to pull it up with all of that and then just cut it into pieces. So yeah, you decide underwater. That's why it has to be like the divers has to be like really experienced person who, when they will see, they will make the decision there and then.
Just a random question. Is there any type of communication done with the fishers the fishermen that are out there using the ghost nets to try to get them, or is it the only way that they're able to? I guess that's my question. Is there any communication with the fishermen to try to lessen the use of nets? I don't know if that's a dumb question, so sorry.
Well, that's a very good question because that's the biggest problem in that kind of in that project, like the communication with the fishermen, and that's related to few very important factors. Like one, okay, Malta is a place where the fisheries is something normal. It was always there, and it was from family to family, from son to from father to a son and going through generations. So now all the statistics are saying that the new generation doesn't want to do that. So whoever is a fisherman, it's mostly older persons, like older persons doing that, which is problematic to get to them and tell them to change something on the way how they do it.
Yeah.
That's one thing. The second thing is there are statistics saying that in a very particular place, which is one of the towns in here that's really related to fisheries, 33% of them cannot read or write. Yeah, so that's another problem. You can't just like give them leaflets or something like that. You just have to meet with them
Yeah.
and tell them what is good, what is bad, and then tell them why it's bad and how to do it good. But we're getting there. We're getting there. We had few meetings. We had few meetings with the fisheries department, and we're trying to pursue them because we actually what we can do is if they call that they lost the net, we will go and pick it up for free. It's
Oh.
guaranteed by our project. So if somebody will call us, if somebody will tell us that they lost the cage, they lost the net, and tell us where, we can go and retrieve it for them. And we had few situations like that where the fishermen just called us and we went there, shoot it up, and the guy just rolled it on his boat and left. Yeah, and this is very easy for us, and that's a win-win situation for everybody, and basically for the environment as well, because that's a fresh net that will kill the most. So yeah, we're getting there, but it will take a lot of time and a lot of effort. We've got a special number that they can call, not call, sorry, send a message that will come to us, and then we're calling them back. So there is always a way on how to do things. What we need them to actually want us to do. Then another big problem is that not always they are in the place that they are supposed to be with the nets. So that's
Okay.
why they're not calling. So there's always a bit shady situation when it comes to the fisheries, to the fishermen and things like that. But there are quite a few like really good guys who they learn that they can just call and they will get the stuff back. Few more years and maybe that will work completely.
I definitely think it's always kind of tough when you're dealing with that generational battle of people that have been doing this for 50 years or even longer, however long the elder has been doing it, and for somebody to just be like, you can't do that anymore. That's got to be quite a tough conversation. So yeah, no, that's good that there's communication and the fact that they're able to call you, and because I would assume that would be, I don't know how much a net costs the fishermen's or anything like that, but
That's the funniest thing. Like you stand in front of that man and like he's complaining that there's no fishes, like he's not catching that much, he's losing money, and then you tell him like, okay, when you lost the net, just call me, yeah, and he never calls, and he's losing so much money because, like the nets we pulled up a net that was like half a kilometer long, yeah.
no
And
shit.
that's nothing unusual, like 200, 300 meter net, that's nothing unusual to find. So, like they pay per square meter, I don't know how much, but it's when you add that up, that's a huge loss in money. Yeah? And they could get it
Yeah. Oh
back for
yeah.
free. And, like for them, another thing is it's killing. Yeah. 90% of the fishes that the ghost nets are catching, there could be actually sold, yeah, with a profit. So if we want to actually take them out, like, let's use them, let's sell it, and let's let people just eat it, and not just let them die underwater and in the nets and get to waste. So this is the crazy situation, and you're just sitting like in front of them and telling them all of that, and yeah, that's the generation problem.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then when all of the waste that you're removing, the ghost nets, where is this all going? Is it just going to like a landfill? Is it using for recycles? Like, where is it all going?
That's another thing that we do is we do collect the plastic that we pick up from under the water, whether is it on cleanups or the ghost nets and things like that. We keep it, we shred it, and then we try to recycle because the plastic that is from the oceans, from the seas, it cannot be recycled in the same process that the normal plastic is recycled because it's biologically contaminated, so it has to be a different process. And we've got two projects that we're doing now. So, of course, the ghost nets, the one net can be made up from 5 different types of plastic or five different things. So you have to like cut it in pieces and separate all the stuff. Some of them can be reused straight away, like lead, and the rest of the plastic has to go somewhere and be recycled. And we've got one project that we're trying to work with all the local artists to give them whatever they need, from the cleanups, from the plastic that we find, from the ghost nets, to do some kind of art, to upcycle it, and like do something more to show people that we have a problem. And that went actually pretty good because we had one artist that did a huge sculpture, which is now in front of the one of the diving centers, one of our sponsors, in front of Dive Systems. We had a young girl who is a designer, and she did dresses for
Oh,
Malta Fashion Week, and she actually won the upcoming star award for that collection. Really, really cool stuff. So we always, whenever somebody wants to take the piece and do it for something, redo it. Like even in schools, we working with a lot of school. We doing a lot of educational projects, going to schools and doing lectures for them. We always try to get some kind of workshops with them so they can do something from the plastic cups, from the plastic bottles that we pick up, some kind of art. No, and the second thing is now we're trying to launch something that's called Zibel Studio, which will be our place in which you can recycle your plastic on your own and redo it to something else. So basically, we can clean the plastic and shred it into pieces, and then you can come and use the pieces to put into a machine that's melting that for certain form, and you can do like whatever you want from it, like 3D printing. Well, not 3D printing, but like the form that will melt the plastic again, and you can reuse it for whatever you want, just as an
cool.
art or just as a whatever, I don't know, idea you have, keychains or things like that. So
Oh, that's awesome. No, that's really cool.
this is one of the biggest projects as well now that we're trying to close, so it will start to work.
Cool. When do you so you hope to open that soon?
Yes, we hope to open that soon. For sure, it would be in next year. It will start to work. We're waiting for the machines. We're waiting for the sponsors to close the contracts with us so we can buy the machines and all that kind of stuff and put it in one place. And of course, the worst thing is to find a proper place where to put it. So yeah, it will be nice and easy for everybody. That's a big project that will be coming up. So we actually will be the first NGO and in general the first institution in Malta that will recycle the ocean plastic.
Oh, okay. That's awesome, man. I look forward to seeing how that all unfolds. Well, yeah, just a last couple of questions for you. So I definitely got to ask about the photography side. So can you tell me a little bit about the photography that you do?
Well, I'm a photographer and I do underwater pictures. That's pretty much this. It's funny because I'm a photographer that I actually did study photography, and I was mostly doing photos on the surface. So I was specializing in portraits and in nudes, but having so little time when you're a diving instructor, it was obvious that you just switch to underwater. So yes, I'm doing a lot of underwater photography, especially in Malta, which at some point is getting really boring when you have to do the same wreck again and again and again, and your creativity is stretched to the limits. Uh, but yeah, that's like the underwater photography is really huge thing, especially like in Malta. People are just coming like to shoot this particular wreck. Like we were laughing about the wreck with the staircase, which I just hate the staircase because everybody who's coming with the camera, they just want to go there and shoot the photo of the staircase. Yeah, I think that's like the most photographed place in Malta. Yeah, like
Oh yeah, if not
literally.
the world, if not the world.
Yeah.
I've literally seen that photo so many times. I mean, I get it, like for sure, but that's funny.
But the funniest thing is like people are so disappointed. They just go there and it's like, that's this. On pictures it looked better. Yeah, like obviously. So it's at some point it's getting like pretty boring when it comes to photographing all the same. But you're just doing what you do, and sometimes you're getting better like divers that you can do a bit more and plan for the pictures and go just to take a picture. So because when you're an instructor and you have to dive with clients, you do the photography just as you proceed on the dive. So that's why most of the time I don't take the big camera with big strobes and things. I'm just taking my GoPro with one additional light. And most of the pictures that you can see from my portfolio is made with a GoPro, which is
Oh,
already
okay.
pretty old because that's a GoPro 8. And now I think it's 13 or 12 or something like that. So I'm not even following.
I feel like every year they're coming out with a new one. So, do you like to do more portraits underwater, or do you like to do like the wide angle wreck shots and with all the wrecks that are there, the ghost nets? I mean, it's always nice to have a person in the photo. I always enjoy at least for aspect and everything.
Well, yeah, like let's say I'm not doing much portraits, especially of divers, of free divers and things like that. Yes, which is, let's say, more interesting for me because a diver is just another diver. The only thing that's changing is like it can have a bit worse buoyancy and trim in the water and different gear. Yeah, like nothing is changing. So I'm trying like to avoid that, but of course I do put divers into my photos, and most of the time what I do is wreck photography. So the diver is always somewhere there, and if you don't have a diver on the photo, you don't see the scale of the wreck. You have no comparison to what is going on, and it's always
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
to have a diver in the photo, as you said. And I actually like macro photography. So Malta has a lot of life, but it's always like super tiny life. So if you get a good camera lens or camera that's doing a good macro photography, then yes, then Malta would be really really interesting because you can spend your time and find a lot of stuff like that.
Awesome, man. And then my last question for you before I let you go is, so somebody that is coming to Malta, they want to help out with waste removal or ghost net removal. I don't know if that's something that you could jump into, but basically they just kind of want to help and get involved in the cleanups. What is the best way to do that?
So this is when it comes to cleanups and the normal stuff. It's actually pretty easy. You have to be advanced or above because that's the internal law in Malta that you have to be advanced to do something. And when you're advanced, if you just have to follow Zibel or follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, and just if the dates are proper, you can sign up in there. We are providing tanks for free and like missing equipment. If you don't have full equipment, we can organize that for you. You just sign up to the form, upload all your certificates, so we got everything checked, and just you know message us and we meet on the spot. When it comes to ghost nets, that's a very complicated way because we're not taking everybody, obviously, even with a lot of certificates. Because diving on such a thing that's super dangerous and it requires some skill. This is something that we do. Like I need to know the person, or I need to dive with the person before, so I know that the person is very let's say good underwater and experienced. Because if I have to be there underwater and shoot up the ghost nets, I don't want to be the instructor and think about my body. Does he know how to switch gases if we do in tech? And will he be in a good spot or not good spot? Of course, we're checking on each other and doing all that kind of stuff. But you don't want to be the instructor who will be there and always have to check how much gas the other person has. Yeah, you've got a mission to do. You've got the ghost nets to find and shoot and do all that kind of stuff. So that the tech person has to be like really tech person and not just on the table. So yes, but whoever will be in Malta and the stars align that we actually have the cleanup, you're more than welcome to join for us. And yeah, I can assure you that this is like way more interesting than something that you just look on the internet. It's really, really cool, and it gives you the feeling that you actually did something.
Well, hey man, I absolutely appreciate you coming onto the podcast for a second time. Again, thank you very much for rescheduling with me. And no, this has been awesome, and I look forward to all the projects that you have going on, seeing what they're going on, more of your photos. And yeah, man, just thank you very much for coming back onto the podcast.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much for having me. I hope we're going to see each other either on Baltic Day or when you come to Malta finally and help us with all the garbage that we need to remove. So.
Off-gassing, a scuba podcast.